We're on.
Welcome, loyal disciples, to our first ever virtual podcast.
The CovidCast.
Yeah, Joey, would you like to explain to the people why this is happening? Why our two bodies are not gracing the glorious studio with our united presence?
Yeah, well, apparently my dad thought it was a good idea to go and get COVID-19 and give it to everyone that he knows and loves. So, Uncle Joe.
He's disappointed in you.
Yeah, he's not happy about this. He would have tested everyone, and Joe is like the only person in the world who is like a moving bubble. Like, he's so important that the world is just like agreed that nobody will interact with him that has COVID-19.
Oh my goodness. How are you feeling? Do you have symptoms?
Yeah, I have symptoms. I can't smell and taste, and I have a weak cold. So.
You have a what? I'm sorry?
Crazy. Like a weak cold, like congestion and stuff, but not even to the point where like I can't breathe while I sleep. So it's not even like it's a bad cold. Like I can still breathe through the night and whatnot. So it could be worse. It's annoying, but yeah.
Right.
Hopefully by next week I'll be past, like they say 10 days it typically takes. So hopefully by next week I'll be past 10 days and have a negative result by then.
I'm certainly hoping, mainly because I can't really do this by myself. We're kind of counting on you here. So
yeah.
Go ahead and survive one.
You and Uncle Joe can't do it alone?
Well, Uncle Joe could do it alone. I can't.
Yeah.
I have him turn toward me now so that I can feel confident. He's looking at me.
Yeah.
So you got mild symptoms. Luckily, you're in okay health, for the average American.
Yeah, I'm halfway decent, so hopefully I won't die.
So I'm actually tested now on Thursday just to be safe.
Yeah.
Because we did see each other, but it was before you were showing symptoms, so that will, that decreases the likelihood of it. But I'd like to just do it just in case. There are people that I see, and I definitely don't want to be seeing anyone if I have it, because I could be asymptomatic. I have a friend who actually has it. Is not showing any symptoms. He's still having cigars, and he feels great. He just got a positive test result. Oh man. Well, speaking of COVID, because literally anything we could talk about today could be in reference to COVID, about anything. The NBA, I don't know, the presidency, living itself, life itself. But I want to talk about, obviously, what we talk about on this podcast, which is fights. The Contender Series kicked off. Yep. Now, to be honest with you, I did not watch last night. I did watch some of the finishes, though. So I would like you to kind of run us through anything stand out from last night.
Yeah, so there was a few things that stuck out for me. Obviously, the kids who got the contracts. Really just one of them stood out to me. Get these names up. His name. So there was Luis Rodriguez versus Jerome Rivera. That was a really good fight, the second fight of the night.
Okay.
Those kids got contracts, but the Luis Rodriguez kid, he's a 21-year-old kid from Mexico. And wow, he is a savage. He has some concrete in his hands. He's strong as hell for his size. And yeah, I think he's going to be a real problem in the UFC one day, in like a year or two of development. How he lost on two of the judges' scorecards, they had it 30-27, him losing, and yeah, he dominated the second round. So yeah, it literally made no sense that somebody could give it a 30-27, but yet two of them did. So Vegas judges for you. And Jordan Levitt, the kid who drops into that split. So at post-fight, you could just see his body language. You couldn't hear him yet because he hadn't gotten to the like interview area. And
Right.
yeah, I hate to say it, but I could not. I was like, all right, this body language. I thought he was like the first gay fighter. Like I thought that was gonna be his thing. The way he was moving and stuff, bro. I was like, all right, this kid's gay. Like for sure. I don't care how shallow it makes me sound. I thought the kid was gay. And
we haven't been a podcast for 4 weeks. We're already going to get in trouble.
Yeah. But just like, I don't know, he's not gay. Kid's not.
I thought the same thing though, because okay, that's what I sent you. Okay, I sent you full disclosure. I sent you saying pause to that video.
Yeah.
When he did the split, like doing a split is very impressive. But as a guy, ordinarily, okay, forgive, maybe I'm ignorant to the world of splits. Dude, we might be totally missing out on a whole new world of splits. But as a guy, ordinarily, you do the straight split, looking straight like the Jean-Claude Van Damme split.
Or you do it as a stretch or in a private setting.
Yeah, because think about
it. Into that, like.
And ordinarily, if you do
it
split,
like,
right. Yoel's done it, but when Yoel does it, he looks down straight. This guy looked back.
And Yoel does like that dancer split where the back leg is cocked so he can like bounce back up. Or this kid just straight.
He did a straight split, and then he looked back at it, and then I don't know if you noticed this. When he got up, he gave us a little twerk.
Yes. And then he was like, I was like, no way. Like, not no way, like I couldn't be there for it. I was there for it. I was excited for him to come out and make the announcement that he was, you know, the first, like, I mean, obviously not the first gay, there's the women, but that's cool to be a lesbian.
Yeah, when I saw it, I'm like, wow, I mean, I don't know. I just don't, this isn't something you normally see. Maybe he wasn't meaning for it to be that way, but it just kind of came out of him. Maybe like, you know, he's just like, he was just being, it doesn't look like he was doing that for like attention because.
Right. It seemed like genuine, which is why I thought he was gay. I was like, all right, he's just gay and he's cool about it. But nah, he's straight and weird.
It was a little weird. Yeah. It's actually, it becomes weird though, when you're straight.
When he goes back there and talks about his wife and kid.
I'm like, yeah, he did?
Yeah, and he was real emotional and stuff.
I mean, Ricky Martin had a wife and kids. I'm not saying this guy's gay. I'm not saying that.
Right.
All I'm just saying, it is a known fact.
Bisexual at best.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that either. We should go away from this.
Yeah, moving on to the next fight. Okay, so then we had Euros Medic versus Mikey Gonzalez.
I saw highlights of that.
That Euros Medic kid is legit. So
really?
Yeah, I was watching just in the warm-up, like the little mini countdowns they show as part of the TV show, you know, the little 5-minute, you know, intro, whatever. And just seeing him hit the pads and whatnot, I was like, wow, this kid's striking is legit. Just like the subtleties and fluidity in his game, he was serious. And then, you know, you could see when Mikey, his opponent, was hitting pads, you're like, all right, that's just, you know, he doesn't have it, so to speak. But then I heard that the Mikey kid had his black belt, so I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. But yeah, Euros Medic just came out and murdered the dude. I think he was by far the most impressive fighter on the card. I think he's going to do. Oh, there he is. I think he's going to do really well in the UFC. I think he's fighting at 55. So there are some savages in that division, obviously. So we'll see what happens with him over time. But I think he's going to have some good, exciting matchups. I think he'll definitely, you know, crack that top 15 and get some good, exciting fights. You know, I don't know if he's going to be a world champion, but, you know, he could be a Dan Hooker type, you know, who gives us a ton of really exciting fights and keeps things standing. So I'm excited to see what happens with him. And then in the main event, T.Y. Flores versus Dustin Jacoby. Dustin Jacoby was in, I don't know if you saw, he was in the UFC about 10 years ago and got cut after going 0-2. And then he's gone on a glory run and whatnot. He got cut from the UFC at 22 years old. And then, in the past 10 years, he's went and fought in glory and been like a high-level striker now since then. And he came out and looked really good in the first 2 rounds. But that last couple minutes of the second round, you could tell, like, this kid's fading. And then third round was a shell of himself. You could tell fatigue really got to him. And he said afterwards, he was like, look, I think I showed that I've improved enough. And, I know Dana is just looking for the finishes around here. So you guys got to respect that I was trying to give you a finish in the first 2 rounds. And the fact that the third wasn't up to par, it's because I was playing to the show. So, it kind of made sense. And Dana respected that and was like, you know what, I'm going to bring you on, see what you got. But I think striking-wise, he's going to give some 205ers some real problems. And, it's going to be exciting to see. So out of those 3, Jacoby, he got the contract. Liviet or whatever, the guy who hit the split, he got the contract. And, Euros Medic, that kid. And then, those up-and-comers, the Gonzalez versus Rivera, Rodriguez versus Rivera. Rodriguez is a dog at 21 years old, coming out of Mexico. So, and that was my thoughts on the night. Good stuff. Okay. So I love the Contender Series. Like, just fighting for something. It's like college sports compared to NFL, where it's like there's just that extra level of like grittiness and excitement and just like pop to it because there's so much passion in it. At that point, it's still like just passion where you're trying to make things a possibility. Whereas like the guys at the UFC level, they kind of know where they're at. There are some of those guys who are still on that rise like that, but everybody's kind of in that mindset and then that state of self-belief when they're coming to the Contender Series. So everybody's just, going in there and laying it all out there. Dana's right there, the intimate setting, no walkout really. They just walk straight out the door and they're walking up the octagon steps basically with walkout music. It's cool. I really like it. And I used to not like it. I didn't like the Ultimate Fighter necessarily in terms of like for a fighter. For me, it's like, why would I go do the Ultimate Fighter? You want me to fight all those times in your circumstances, living in those circumstances with those people? Not like it seemed like the UFC was the only winner there. It's like, okay, they're just basically getting a bunch of bodies in a house so they can run like a reality show with some fighting involved. It's like, I would rather, just make it to the UFC on my terms. But the Contender Series is a really cool alternative, and you see it giving some of these guys that initial push right off the beginning. That initial push is just, making some stars right away. You have the O'Malley explosion, that came from the Contender Series. You have, what is his name? Black dude training out of Texas. He's a welterweight, real jacked. He beat Andre Touchy-Feely. Like Yasir, no. Something. I don't know. I can't think of it. But the Contender Series, either way, Shahbazyan, we're going to speak on him in a little bit, bringing him up. The Contender Series has made some real stars, whereas these guys usually have to, fight a few times in the UFC before they get a fight with some platform to it. But the Contender Series being its own standalone thing, it gets those like preliminary fighters, a name right off rip kind of deal. So I think that is
nice. Now, Joey, how much time do you have the timer there, right? You should be able to see it. If not, then don't worry about it. But just want to keep track. I wanted to talk a little bit about. What Dana said in regards to Conor. So apparently, Conor's not fighting this year in 2020.
According to Dana.
It's so stupid. It's only August. It's not like we're in November or in like late October where it'd be kind of difficult. You telling me you can't put a fight together for Conor in November or December? That's like 3 months from.
I think we're seeing right now a real shifting of the guard and Dana trying to take away some of Conor's power. I think that Conor was just like in a place where he could kind of do whatever he wanted, pull whatever strings he wanted, and get stuff done. But I think that now Dana's trying to get in a place where he takes some of that power back from these stars. He doesn't want it to be so star driven. And I think that he's kind of trying to take that back from Conor and not just let Conor lead the headlines and lead like the narrative, because if he gets out on the front end and says things before Conor, he kind of feels like he's leading the narrative. Whereas like Conor just plants seeds and then the crowd, like the fans, like the Mayweather McGregor, that was like seeds were planted. It got so big that Dana just couldn't stop it at that point. So Dana's like trying to get on the front end to everything. Like, no, Conor's not fighting Justin. No, Conor's not fighting this year. No, Conor, it's like, whereas Conor's saying the opposite of all these things, it's just tough. He's right away coming out and saying that Conor's accept. He knew it was for Chimaev. And then Conor is like, no, that wasn't even about Chimaev. So Dana's just like trying to control the narrative on Conor. Which is weird, like you would expect him, like especially now, like with the UFC being the only thing around, you would think that, like, all right, if the UFC put on a Conor McGregor show today, it would be, wow, like they're just doing it. They don't care. They like have the whole, the whole sports world, on their knees, so to speak. Like everybody's looking up at them. Like if they're putting on their Super Bowl of combat sports, which is a McGregor fight right now, it's like, well, you would think that would be something that they would, maybe want to entertain. But, it's hard to say. We don't know really how expensive it is to put on these events right now and whatnot. But imagine that it's anything too crazy. And I can't imagine if Jorge Masvidal could do 1.3 million buys in this climate, that Conor couldn't easily do 2 million. Nothing against Jorge, but he's just not on Conor's level. And it's like, if, 1.3 is a huge pay-per-view success, smash hit. That's like Conor Diaz 1, I believe. So it's like, if that could do 1.3 and Khabib McGregor did 2.4, like, all right, McGregor versus anybody right now could probably do 2.
Yeah. Not only that, but like Jorge was fighting a guy that wasn't popular in the pay-per-view area. And Conor, the only fights for him are popular fights. It's either Diaz, the trilogy. It's either a Tony Ferguson, which is a very popular fight, or maybe a Dustin Poirier. Like these are all there's no fights where he's fighting a guy that isn't already over with the fan base. So it's going to blow. It's going to be, it's going to be a very easy money grab.
And the Diaz thing, it's like that's a pre-made meal. That thing's like already packaged, ready to go. You just have to
ready to go,
and it's good. Like you give it a date and hit go, and that when the bell rings, like that fight's ready. You don't have to sell it. You don't have to do nothing. You have to do all these press conferences, like.
Yeah, it sets up something with Masvidal too if they want to do that, because they have a common opponent, and now you can. Conor beats, let's say Conor beats Nate, and Conor gets on the mic and, he talks about him being the real BMF, and then all of a sudden there's this big hype around him. Because I don't know if Conor is going to end up fighting Khabib, because I don't know if you've heard, Khabib is planning on fighting Justin in April. Sorry.
Justin, October.
In October, and then he's planning on fighting GSP in April.
Yeah.
And he didn't put anything after that, and I heard that he wants to retire 30-0 for his dad. Now, this is sad to me because that means we don't get to see 2 very coveted fights. The Tony fight, which is and the Conor rematch.
To me, it seems fitting. Like, Khabib and Tony can't fight. Like, how are they going to book that? How are they going to book that? I think they should book it and
book it with
retire.
No, you book it with like a week to go.
Yeah.
So, like, you tell the guy secretly, hey, you're going to be fighting in 6 weeks. Yeah. But if we announce it now and it gets canceled, like like honestly, everybody's gonna be pissed. So
UFC can market it as like their mystery card. Like you don't know the headline. It's just big drama show is the poster, and you don't know what.
There we go. You
They
market it as a
certain-
secret, but have a backup secret, like the return of, I don't know, Chuck Liddell. We'll have the backup secret as the return of Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell.
I was going to say GSP Anderson Silva.
Oh gosh. No, wait.
GSP supposedly wants to come back.
Hold on. You make Tony the replacement fighter for the GSP fight. That way there's zero chance of disappointment. Because you know Connor's do that. But if you make Tony the step-in fighter, it's possible GSP at 38 years old, it's possible something happens, gets tweaked, with COVID going around. That's a big thing.
Right.
We're going to be, I think it's going to be more in the rear view, but you never know what the restrictions are going to be like.
Right.
I think Tony should be in the the replacement for the Justin fight. Dude, we do not know what's going to happen with that. Like any one of them could get COVID. I don't want to see a Justin Tony rematch, although I like to see it because it's a great fight, but I don't want to see Tony lose again. I'm not sure it would happen, but the possibility of him losing in that fashion again to Justin is kind of heartbreaking. I feel like Tony deserves to go make a lot of money, fight Conor, or get his Khabib fight. But you put him against Conor, I don't think the UFC wants to do that because now they're putting two golden gooses against each other.
In Tony and Conor?
Yeah, because both of them, the fight with Khabib is very hyped and would make a lot of money. So by putting them against each other, you're eliminating half of that money.
Yeah, but now I feel like with all these guys, they're in a place where it's like, you don't know how many Conor fights you have left. You don't know how many Khabib fights you have left. You don't know how many Tony fights you have left. Like Khabib apparently has 2 fights. If you had to guess right now, how many Conor fights would you say he has left in his career? 3? Yeah, in my mind, I was thinking like 3 to 5 on the absolute high end, if you figure this out over the next 3-5 years. I think Conor could be in a Floyd position where he steps away from the game, steps back into the game, steps away from the game, and could
box. One of them, I think 3 and maybe 1 extra one in a boxing realm somewhere.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Dana supposedly was making some ground on, the boxing promotion that they wanted to implement, and it was supposed to, come out in 2020, but I doubt Dana's even got a single thought going towards boxing right now. But
so speaking of disappointments and fights that don't seem to ever materialize, here we are again, Tyron Woodley, Colby Covington, jawing back and forth.
Yeah.
And I honestly think I will go my entire life. I will die. I will get to heaven. I will ask God, and I still won't know which one of them is the one that doesn't sign or doesn't. I'm pretty sure I'll never know because both of them say so adamantly that they've been wanting and the other person's ducking them. And when both of them say it, I believe both of them. So that logically does not compute. You cannot have 2 absolute statements that contradict each other and both be right.
Right.
I don't know what's happening with this fight. I know Woodley was injured and he was wanting to recover at one point. And then I know Colby had something similar. But right now, I think they're both ready to schedule a fight. Maybe not to fight now, but I don't understand why it's not. We have stuff into the year, into October. Why can't we schedule a Woodley? That'd be a great fight night or even a good pay-per-view.
Yeah, a good co-main event to one of these bigger shows coming up or something.
To a Conor show. Can you imagine a Colby Conor show?
Yeah. Or even, because a Khabib Justin show, we're not going to get much of that back and forth. But you have star power at the top. So it's like, all right, well, let's have that star power, and then let's give that card some drama with a co-main event, Woodley versus Covington.
I like that. I like that, yeah.
I think that would be a good setup there. And, I was also thinking, then maybe in November, December, you give us one more big splash pay-per-view with a Conor fight. If they do give us, I think Conor, if I had to guess right now, I see them giving Conor I don't see them giving him or Poirier necessarily. I don't know. It's tough to say. My oddball pick for the Conor fight, I want to see him in Max again. Like that's what I want.
At 55?
At 55. I don't love it for Max, but what else do you love for Max right now?
Yeah, he's kind of in limbo now because he lost twice to the champ. So it's almost like you're waiting till Alex loses to someone else to get your shot again. And
Right.
really a whole lot of fights for him at 45 that are superbly interesting. I mean, it would be interesting. Yeah, to fight a Zabit or,
Speaking of which, Yair just pulled out of that.
I know. I was going to say that Yair's now out against Zabit, and Calvin Qatar, or Qatar, however you pronounce it, has offered to step in and fight Zabit.
Again? He fought?
Yes. He offered to step in. His manager or his coach, I'm not sure which one. I saw a tweet.
That.
Confirmed that he is offering officially to step in and fight him.
I see. I mean, I don't see why he doesn't get that. The first fight was fireworks, so I would love to see it. And Cater's a much bigger name than they were the first time, so I think the UFC might pull the trigger on that.
Anytime you get a trilogy or a sequel fight, I feel like in this climate where you're looking for stories to tell, what better way to do that than to just fabricate by a rematch?
Right. Just prepackaged stories work because we don't have our typical combative press conference setups where we have all the fighters on the stage.
So you can now, go back and reminisce on that beef or on those moments instead of trying to create new ones in a virtual setting. It's really difficult. Like, I think we were robbed of some really cool, of some really good chatter between Usman and Masvidal live.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about Masvidal because apparently, and I want to go through this quick because I want to talk about Shahbazyan. But tell me what's going on with Masvidal and cornhole. What's happening?
So apparently today is the day, the big day everybody has been waiting for on the edge of their seat.
Really?
He's making his cornhole debut against supposedly the best cornhole player in the world.
Are you serious? He's going after the guy?
Yeah, he's and he said the only way he sees himself getting beaten in this is if foot stomps are legal. So somehow through all of this, he still finds a way to throw some shade at Usman, which
wow,
I love it.
I got Jorge winning because it seems like it seems like something that absurdly could happen in 2020 that Jorge Masvidal goes in, faces the best cornhole. I mean, how do you become the best I guess you win competitions. They do tournaments. You face I imagine the winningest cornhole player. You go in there in his territory with his sacks, and you're throwing them. And is he an overhand guy or is he an underhand guy? I'm an overhand guy in cornhole.
Are you?
I cannot throw it underhand. I actually shoot it like a basketball, or I throw it
elbow eyes.
Yeah, I throw it kind of like I'm throwing a baseball casually.
You're
but
flicking,
I finish with the flick. I'm close enough, and I have it in a little like a wadded ball, and it's heavy enough. I'll sometimes like do a push shot.
Yeah.
I have made more inside the hole directly without even touching the thing, doing it that way, than ever underhand. Underhand, I don't even get close.
Yeah. Cornhole's tough, bro. It's tough.
Yeah.
I'm white and from Florida, and I don't know.
You're supposed to be good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were born with genes bred for cornhole.
Yeah.
Realize, because I'm from Miami, okay? And in Miami, just so you know, not a thing. Cornhole, not a thing. If you go to Miami Hurricanes games, you'll see cornhole as a novelty game, like for kids, but not a thing for like grown men with beer to be like, let's play some cornhole, and like standing there and like having point system. I was like, what? I was honestly flabbergasted when because my wife and you're in the family, so the family, they love playing cornhole. They take it very seriously. It's a big event. When I first saw that, I was genuinely confused. Imagine me sitting there in a state of pure bewilderment and confusion on my face, like not even hiding it, and just looking and saying, why does this exist as a competitive game? But then you play it and you're like, it's pretty difficult.
For sure. It's pretty difficult, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not looking for a challenge at a barbecue, you know. I'm just trying to kind of kick it, but whenever those boards get pulled out, I kind of just try and swerve them so I don't, hey, Joey, you want to be my partner? No, I'm good. I just got a message from Zoom. They lifted our 40-minute timer.
They did?
Yeah, complimentary waiving of the timer.
So you called Zoom and you said, hey, listen, this is an unprecedented time. We need to deliver for our disciples.
The
please.
disciples are here.
So Zoom is a disciple then, technically.
Zoom, yeah. So at least somebody apparently at the top of Zoom is a disciple.
They're watching right now, which is a little concerning because we're not publicizing this.
Right. This is not live, which, you know, apparently, yeah, you know, I think they owe us something for a private live viewing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's a lie. I wonder if they're okie doking us. We're going to find out at the 40-minute mark when one of us gets cut off.
Yeah.
But that'll be part of the fun. If we do get cut off, just know everything you need to know about the UFC right now is that Conor's not fighting in 2020, which is a problem. And for all the casual fans, which honestly, everybody has, no matter how much you know, everybody has a little casual inside them that wants to see Conor land a left hand on the team, that wants to see the big names win. We love the sport, but we also love the spectacle.
Yeah.
So everybody, I hate when people talk about casual as if it's, now don't get me wrong. I don't like it when casual fans try to talk as experts, but a guy who admits, I just like it because of the big names. You can't get mad at a guy. All of us got into it because of the big names. None of us got into it because we're like, wow, what an impressive low kick. No, we were like, whoa, what is this? What is this creature, John Jones, this giant tarantula person?
Yeah.
Why does he exist? Why is he angry? And please, is the world safe with him among us? Or you look at Jose Aldo and you're like, whoa, this guy is like the most ferocious, terrifying human.
People's limbs out from underneath them.
Right. Everybody got into it as a casual. You eventually learn. It's the guys who don't grow out of it that become annoying because you're like, dude, you've been watching for 5 years. How have you not figured out some of this yet? But everybody wants to see a Conor fight, and we're not getting it. Anyway, Jorge Masvidal is going to beat, that's my prediction, and I'm usually right with predictions, and Jorge's going to beat Mr. Cornhole guy. We don't even know his name. You know why?
He got a 15-point lead. The guy spotted him 15 points. They're playing to 21.
It's a layup. It's easy for Masvidal.
He's still a plus 250, plus 250, I think. Plus 900 and plus 250.
That is terrible. They're trying him. All right, quickly let's talk Shahbazyan. Boy, did that train crash into a brick wall quickly. It was a good fight. He did well. I mean, he didn't look like a complete bust, but he ran into what I believe to be a wildly underrated fighter with really good losses, like losses to guys who are really good, guys who you're not. Nobody's saying, "Oh my God, he lost to Israel Adesanya."
Right.
Like, so did Robert Whittaker. So did Yoel Romero. Nobody scoffs at those guys. But I think Derek Brunson has had a bad reputation because he seems to always be loudly losing. Because all the guys that he loses he loses to loudly, talks a lot, and then he loses very embarrassingly to the guys he talks to. Similar effect, Michael Johnson. Great fighter, but your memories of Michael Johnson is going back and forth, talking with guys who then he loses to, or he doesn't perform his best against, and he ends up looking a little silly.
Right, and not opponents that it's embarrassing to lose to, like when Diaz and Gaethje are the guys who come to mind with Michael Johnson talking shit and being humbled for it. And it's like, those are guys that nobody should be ashamed of having a loss on their record to. That just is a great experience. You know, just having that fight on your resume in a way helps. But it's But when you make yourself look like an ass saying that Gaethje doesn't belong in the UFC and he's just like, he's calling Gaethje inbred and all this nasty stuff saying you're inbred, don't deserve to be here, yada, yada,
Yeah.
before Gaethje's debut. It's like, that guy's been a world champion outside the UFC for years now. Like, trust me, he deserves to be here. Like, so, yeah.
And the thing, like, when the trash talking, usually the trash talking, like Conor got away with that, right? Conor got away with demeaning his opponent, calling his opponent an amateur, because he went out
and different though, because it's laced in a way like with some intelligence and some wit to it. Whereas when Brunson and Michael Johnson do it, it's like it's laced with like this underlying tint of ignorance to it. And
you're skinny, bro.
Brunson yelling, and him telling Israel Adesanya, "You're a glory reject, bro." It's like, yeah, but what would happen if you tried to go get in a glory kickboxing match, Derek Brunson? You know, it's
right.
Like, you've got these, one-liners that you thought up beforehand, but how intelligent do they really sound,
Yeah, whereas Conor sounded more like a Bruce Lee style, kind of like soothsayer, like looking into the future. And when he spoke, the way he would describe it, he would describe it so scientifically why he was superior that even if it was all BS and even if he was lying, it made it sound like he was forming that opinion based on him.
He has that Chael Sonnen-esque bad boy to him, where there's that entertainer WWE side of things where you know what Conor you're getting on press conference day. Conor's on Ariel's show, he might peel back the curtain a little bit, show a little insight on things, and then give you a couple sound bites as well. But, it's going to be well thought out. But, when Conor or Chael show up to press conference, what character you're going to get. Whereas with these guys, there's no real character to them. They're just like...
They just sound bitter. Bitter. They sound like haters. And anytime you sound like a hater, you end up looking bad because but then again, you see guys like, when you sound like you're just elevating yourself over another good guy, you don't sound as bad than when you sound like a hater.
Yeah.
Like Ferguson was doing that with Khabib, where you could tell he knew Khabib was good, but you could tell he was just elevating himself above Khabib. And so even though it was kind of goofy, you're like, okay, I can rock with that because he's being a little bit of a showman, but he's also just hyping himself. He's not saying trash necessarily. And even if he uses those words, you could tell it's more of a vein of like, I know I'm a better competitor. Same with Khabib. Dustin, he tough guy, but same thing going to happen. Same thing happened October. Like he has this, I smash anybody.
Brother, you know this.
Yeah. Did you see the tweet? I want to talk about this really quick. I've never gotten chills reading a tweet like I did when I saw Khabib say, Justin basically has to be. I have to pull up the tweet. Sorry, Buzz. Let me pull up the tweet. Go talk to me about the Shahbazyan Brunson fight while I pull up this tweet. What did you think about it, and what did you think of Brunson's performance?
So I thought Brunson looked great. I thought Brunson, fought his perfect fight where he's on the gas pedal, but he knows how to let off of it a little and. He can apply that pressure and mix up his game and do what he does. He does a lot of things well. I don't see Brunson necessarily as a guy who does anything at an elite level. He's not a sniper with the right hand. He's got a big right hand. He's not a Khabib or a DC or somebody with his takedown technicality. And, I believe I said it on a past show. He has like effort-based takedowns, I called it. Not to say that he's just some, spaz in there running and trying to like blind double leg, but he does just have a lot of that, like overwhelm you up against the cage and then try and get underneath you and take you down. And if it doesn't work, whatever, and I thought that I had a feeling going into that fight that Shahbazyan had enough. We were kind of making some assumptions and filling holes about Shahbazyan's game just based off of the high highs we have seen from him because we haven't really seen him tested like that yet, So just based off of like the way he finished Tavares in that last fight, you kind of assume like, wow, we just watched Izzy go 5 rounds with Tavares. Granted, he won all 5, but it's like, okay, he still took that guy 5 rounds, and Shahbazyan comes out and sets him up and finishes him with like impressive strikes, and you're like, wow, this kid could be that next like Izzy guy, and they were literally giving him like the same sequence of Tavares, Brad Tavares, and then Brunson. So it's like, wow,
Right.
literally have Shahbazyan on that style bender path, but he got one more level up, and he didn't have that style bender trajectory to him, which doesn't mean he can't be, a well-rounded champion one day. That doesn't mean that at all. He's still 22, but it's like he's just not going to be that flying, soaring superstar right off rip. He's not going to have that magical Anderson, Conor, Israel Adesanya, Khabib type career where they just fly to the top of the UFC and go on a 10-fight win streak into their first title reign or whatever, So we're
It'll
not
be yeah. It might be a Dustin Poirier type career where he takes a couple losses early and then he reinvents a little bit, comes back and is still respected, wins some good fight. Oh, this guy's still good. Definitely not a fluke.
I would love to see that with him. I would love to see that. I would love for him to, have that Max Holloway-esque. Holloway didn't come on and burst up the scene in that way, but he had a couple good, tough fought losses against what turned out to be, in hindsight, great losses, Poirier and McGregor. But at the time, they were all rising stars. So it was like, Holloway's not the guy. And then, nope, he just caught his stride and boom, like hit that crazy rise. So we definitely very well could see that out of Shahbazyan still. But there are obviously some holes and things that he needs to, address.
Now, Joe Rogan tweeted a video of Justin Gaethje hitting the pads. I guess they were at Joe Rogan's studio. And he said, awesome morning at the studio where I had the privilege of seeing the Savage Gaethje and Master Trevor Whitman on X Labs put in work. Khabib comments, Justin is a very nice guy and good opponent for me. But when Octagon closed, he have to be ready, not only boxing match. I'm not Dustin or Tony. I will take him to the deepest ocean and drown him. See, when some guys say that, you're like, this guy's full of crap. Like when some guys say that, you're like, bro, like get over yourself. When Khabib says it, it sounds like a freaking promise.
Yeah, you don't even want to offer an objection and in fear that Khabib might somehow find location and smash. Like
exactly.
I don't even want to say anything against that. He looked great in that striking video. I didn't see the video. I can't even comment on that or anything because Khabib might smash. I don't know. But yeah.
Justin was working combinations where he throws a combination and then he pursues, like almost switches stances and pursues and then throws a last finishing combination. He was throwing a 1-2 and then pursuing and then throwing an uppercut. And so it was all moving forward. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm not sure that that's the strategy against Khabib. He wants to kick his legs. He made that clear on Joe Rogan's podcast. Calf kick 5 times. He says 5 good calf kicks will end that.
Khabib's a different fighter. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my thing. I do not think Khabib could be denied. And Khabib seems like the type of guy that would fight better in an emotional circumstance, especially with what happened. Look at the Conor fight.
Mm-hmm.
Conor fight, Khabib was, to me, he looked the most impressive because he stood with Conor for like a whole round.
Yeah.
And just with his face. And every time Conor would hit him, he'd just spit. And he'd just be like right in his face. He landed the big shot, yeah, but he was also landing regular shots. And Conor was not landing big shots. That's the kicker. Conor landed a few, I think, in round 3. I'm not sure which round it was that they stood. It might have been the 3rd round where Khabib was getting, outpointed, but wasn't getting damaged in any way. And it looked it almost looked more impressive. Somehow Conor wins that round, but like in the fans' eyes, in my eyes, like Khabib won that round because he stood with Conor and was like right in front of him.
And it was still very close. Yeah.
Feet might have been touching and like in perfect range. And it was just like, it was almost like just a man-to-man dog check. And it was very interesting. But anyway, we're gonna get to Khabib and to Justin in future episodes because I want us to break down that fight like scientifically and break down like what each person has to do. Because I think
we gotta really cherish these last few Khabib fights now that they could potentially be it. You know, it's the perspective for you, and you know, it just like this DC. You know, DC. It's like, man, is this really our last go? You know, you kind of gotta appreciate.
I want to see him fight Francis.
I would love it, but
I think he mauls Francis.
Yeah, I could see it for sure.
I think he beats up Francis, but the opposite is catastrophic for DC,
right.
which is DC dies. So let's there is that. We can. That's
the way
a risk.
DC comes out in dirty box, like he, especially against big tall guys, he plays those hands out in front kind of thing, leaning to the left, hands out in front, leaning to the left, hands out in front.
Right.
So I think that gives Francis problems because Francis isn't right to throw a high kick at the end of a combo or something like that to pay for leaning off center line so much. And I think that you'll see, I just rewatched both of the Stipe DC fights. And you'll see that it creates like technical boxing exchanges where DC's walking in with barriers to entry that you have to at least give him something to come over or around or through. You know, you have to do something to land DC. You don't just come in, you know, and throw big overhands or this or that, you know. Not that, you know, what's going to stop a Francis bomb at the end of the day.
Right.
Francis just can't blindly come in with a big shot against DC because DC will see that coming and he'll be underneath that with a double leg faster than you know, it won't even be funny how quickly he gets underneath Francis. And how ironic would a DC high crotch bomb on Francis Ngannou be? DC,
that would be incredible. And here's the thing, it would absolutely happen. Like in that fight, because
he did it to Stipe.
I know the only thing that he's going to be trying to do is take Francis down and beat him up, and so he has nothing to prove. Like DC's already shown that he can knock people out. He knocked out Stipe. He's already shown that he can fight with the best in the world in both the grappling. He's already
showed he's a better wrestler than Stipe, and look at what Stipe did to Francis.
Right, exactly. And so I think he mauls Stipe, and
Francis.
He gets into that. Or sorry, I think he also does. I think he also beats Stipe. I actually am very confident for DC because I think that he was already winning the second fight, and it was a critical adjustment that he didn't make, but now he knows. Now that's it. Like, and that was the only adjustment. Nothing else Stipe was doing was working. He's not going to wrestle with him. He's not going to throw anything much different. I doubt he's learned.
I would love this one to go all 5.
Yeah?
I would love to just see this one go all 5 and get to see, like, both of them come out and just dog it out all the way through the 5th round. Like, just give us a war. Like, we've already seen both extremes. I want somebody to just win the war and one guy be like, you know, an Adesanya Gastelum. You can't wish for that type of fight. You know, that's one that God gives you, you know. But how awesome would it be for, like, you know, DC to get in some trouble and weather the storm and come out and it'd be like 2-2 and DC comes out and, like, really mixes it up, gets a good takedown, lands some shots, and, like, decisively wins the war in the 5th round.
Wins it at a buzzer. Yeah, I like that.
And then there's no, like, who caught who, this, that, the other. You know, it's like, nah, like, they both got the knockout now in their favor. And then when they go all 5, we got to see who wins that too now. You know?
Well, my only thing is if they go all 5 and it's a war like that, then you're pretty much assuring that DC will retire. But if he goes in there in the first, second round and bink, lands something and just knocks Stipe out or TKOs him, then you're like, ooh, he's going to get it. He's going to get the itch. He's going to want to fight again. And so I want to see DC fight again. But the best alternative to him fighting again is him winning a war and walking out as heavyweight champ. I mean, that's like Storybook.
Here's a little insight. He's walking around at like 235 right now, which is lower than he walked around when he fought at light heavyweight. And John Jones is waiting all year apparently for something. So are we going to get DC going down to light heavyweight at the end of the year to fight John Jones one more time?
Listen,
really in cahoots. Does John know that DC's coming down to fight him one last time?
listen to me. Joey, listen to me. If DC wins the heavyweight championship, goes down to light heavyweight, and beats up John Jones and wins,
and now has obtained champ status twice,
he's the greatest of all time.
Has to be. 100%.
Like, GSP, DC becomes the GOAT, period.
Yeah, because now John is below GSP. Like,
exactly.
John, GSP, DC. Like,
and you know why he becomes the greatest? Not because he was dominant, but because of what he overcame. Those are two ginormous mountains.
Yeah.
Like the biggest mountain. And at
40, the greatest light heavyweight of all time and the greatest heavyweight of all time are both the current champions. Stipe and John Jones both have the most title wins in heavyweight and light heavyweight history. And DC, if he was able to win the belt off of both of those guys and to be the double champ, it would put him a status like no other. It would make him the Tom Brady of the sport, where it's like you could argue that other people have flown at higher elevations at times, but nobody's flown at that elevation for so long and just created such a reign of greatness, which DC has the chance to do here and really put himself in that GOAT conversation and in unprecedented status if he were to pull something off like that. But
listen, John's older. John is older. John looks a lot different than he did prior. Like, I'm not saying he's fallen off, but he's not putting on these spectacular performances like he used to.
All I'm saying is, what does DC do to Dominic Reyes?
I mean,
do fight math like that, but
abuses him.
Yeah,
I think he abuses him.
I don't think these guys that have been giving John trouble are really giving DC trouble. Obviously it's matchups make fights, and DC versus John has shown to be a bad matchup over time, but I don't know. Both of the fights, DC and John, were really good fights. The second fight was really close until John, found that opening, but still,
That's the thing, DC, even in his losses, is usually doing really well. If it's ish. And the first fight, he got outclassed, and he was dealing with a lot of issues. I remember it was a lot of issues with the reach and getting in. He wasn't able to land as much. But the second one, he was landing. Knocked his mouthpiece out. Had some swag. He was moving well. I think it was in the second or the first one where he high crotch took him down just like he does to everybody. Now he got taken down by John, which was interesting. But, how much of that was just, John's very good too. I can't think of a better trajectory ending for someone than becoming the double champ, and also those specific wins. But then, what it does? It destroys Israel Adesanya's John Jones thing. And so you have to sacrifice that, which is
in a way. But at the same time, we have to assume that if DC were to pull that off and beat John, he is vacating the belt 100,000%. So then it's like, okay, we can have Israel versus John for the vacant title.
Right. Loses weight because I think Izzy wants
to loses weight for sure.
It's still fun though. Now you mentioned Tom Brady, so let's get into our favorite game as we land this plane. Fight corner.
Oh, real quick, we have the return of Weidman as well on Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Weidman's co-main event against.
I did see this. Yes. Yeah, I saw Weidman training. It was a training video.
Mari Akhmadov, real good grappler, is Weidman's opponent.
I just watched Weidman's knockout of Silva, and just what an impressive knockout that was. I like that. It wasn't really satisfying to watch because I loved Silva.
Yeah.
But it was impressive to watch. You immediately earned his respect because you're like, yeah, you know what? Silva deserved that one.
Yeah, it was still the playing with his food and then, being humbled. It was
Yeah.
a great moment in UFC history. Crazy moment.
In martial arts history, actually.
Yeah, because think of like Anderson Silva was still 16-0 in the UFC at that point. Like,
Damn.
if he didn't lose to Weidman, and like both of those fights were kind of like, you can't call them fluky, but fluky, like because Anderson was obviously playing with his food, going backwards. He does it in all his fights, but he was like doing it to another degree in that first Weidman.
Well,
he was expecting him.
He got hit, like legit got hit, and then faked the wobbly.
Yeah.
Then he got hit the first time again. Then Weidman missed, and then he's just doing this, and then he went right into a left hook.
Yeah.
And then he immediately fell.
Yeah.
But yeah, Weidman. I'm excited to see Weidman fight. I always like watching Weidman fight. I actually am a fan of his. When I saw him fight Luke Rockhold, that I really respected Luke Rockhold after that fight because of how much I respected Weidman. It's a similar effect. It's why I think Masvidal's so good. Because I respect Nate Diaz. If you don't think Masvidal is good, that means you disrespect Nate Diaz. You don't think he's that good. And yeah, Diaz doesn't have, the most dominant win record. He's lost to guys. But as far as a fighter and skills are concerned, he's incredible. He's
proven he's a tough fight for everybody.
Exactly. All right. It's time.
It's time.
For the greatest game in all of podcasts, Fight, Corner, Roll. So now we're going to pick one person to fight, one person to corner in an MMA fight, and one person to roll jiu-jitsu with. In the gi, out the gi. I do it in the gi. The gi is, I don't know if you've ever seen judo in the Olympics, but it's what they wear, for those of you who don't know. So it's kind of like a garb, Yeah. So the first trio, we have Chuck Liddell, Tito Ortiz, and Rampage Jackson. Golly, what are we trying to do to ourselves? I'm fighting Chuck. I'm cornering Rampage. I definitely don't want to fight Tito. And I'm rolling with Tito.
See, I have to corner Chuck because I can't do a fight week with Rampage or Tito. I can't do it. They're so weird and annoying.
Really?
Chuck, I feel like, is at least like just like a cool, down to earth guy. Like Dana really has always had a liking for him, so it's like, all right, Chuck's probably a cool dude.
So you're fighting him or cornering him?
Cornering him, so I can fight him all week. Like I'm not trying to do a fight week with either of the other two. Who do I want to fight, Tito or Rampage? I want to fight Tito just because he's just Tito. And yeah, I'll fight him. And then I guess I'm rolling with Rampage.
Whatever that's going to be like. Do you remember the Chael Son and Tito trash talk where where Tito's doing the Christopher Walken? He's trying to quote Christopher Walken, but he's doing it very quickly. And Chael's just snoring.
Yes. Yeah, Chael does not have time for the Tito.
Oh my gosh.
Tito's attempt at media, attempt at building fights,
it was terrible.
Painful.
Yeah, he's not the best with the trash talk. Okay, so we got next Robert Whittaker, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, or Carlos Condit. Interesting. You go first.
All right. I want to I've got to fight Condit just for that experience. Somebody who shared the ring with so many legends. He's been in there with GSP, Nick Diaz, Damian Maia. He's been in there with so many great guys. It's like you're going to really gain some experience from that. Robbie Lawler. He's had some just legendary fights where I think you're going to really learn a lot from that fight.
Yeah.
As far as cornering, Wonderboy, super nice and friendly. Whittaker, super friendly but socially distant. So you wouldn't have to do much for Whittaker. So Yeah, I want to corner Whitaker, and I want to roll with Wonder Boy. See what he's got down there. See if he knows some jiu-jitsu.
All right. All right. So here's my selections. I'm going to fight Wonder Boy. I honestly cannot tell you why. I'm going to corner. I'm going to corner Whitaker, mainly because I wonder if that means I'll get to go see Australia. And
Australia is pretty awesome.
I'm interested in seeing Australia. I've heard great things about it, and I imagine like the fighting culture there is incredible. And then I guess I'm rolling with Carlos Condit. Like you said, he shared the ring with so many people, so many variety of skills that I just wonder like what it's like rolling with someone who has so much mat time with elite level talent. I don't care if you won, if you have the mat time with them, it just made you better.
Sure.
And I don't know about Whitaker or Wonder Boy's grappling like that, but Carlos Condit faced guys who were, I mean, just
really got good jiu-jitsu. Whitaker is underrated though. I think he showed against Hill. He pulled that wrestling card out to kind of separate himself in the rounds, and he trains with some high-level guys in Australia. Craig Jones trains down there, absolutely. So Whitaker's definitely got some tricks up his sleeve.
All right, and lastly, we have Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Dan Marino. Okay, I can't ever see myself fighting Dan Marino from Miami.
Dan the man.
Miami boy. But I don't know if I want to corner him either because he's definitely got a rage problem.
Yeah, he's a big head.
I'm going to roll with Dan Marino because he seems like the type of guy who I generally support, but every now and then I would want to humble. So I'd roll with Dan Marino, but I don't want to hurt him. It's similar to what you said last week, where you'll roll with a guy. You don't want to hurt him and like put brain damage on him, but maybe you'll want to smash him a little.
Yeah.
I'm going to corner Tom Brady because I want to see what alien drugs he takes to stay young.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting
Brady's just on that anti-inflammation diet. He doesn't even dice tomatoes because it raises their inflammation markers when you dice tomatoes somehow.
Yeah, that's all BS. He's taking drugs, okay?
Tom Brady's on some other shit.
Tom Brady, we're breaking it right here.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, if you who are listening to me know that Tom Brady is on all the drugs. Now, they're not Mexican supplements. They don't make you bigger, but they're from somewhere on this planet, okay? And lastly, I'm fighting Peyton Manning mainly because my target accuracy with the size of his head, I'm going to be like an 85% strikes landed ratio. I'm winning that fight on a decision, but it's unanimous.
Peyton's massive though, bro.
He is
massive. Peyton is like 6'6".
Okay. But have you seen him run? I mean, like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's not turning.
You got that footwork though, bro. Peyton's feint game and footwork.
No way.
Peyton's gonna be like Tyson Fury, bro. Peyton's gonna be nice.
You think Peyton Manning can move his head that fast?
Bro.
Listen, right now, find the heaviest thing in your room and put it right on top of your head and try to do some slipping and rolling. Try to do that. It's impossible. That's why his neck. I'm just kidding, but I'm fighting Peyton Manning.
Okay. All right. I'm fighting Tom Brady because he's built like a bitch.
Oh my God!
He's in Tampa now, so I think it would be really easy to set that up. We fight at James Stadium. It gets the Florida crowd behind me even more. Or maybe it just turns Florida on me and ruins, me being a Florida-based fighter.
You want to wait till he retires, maybe.
Yeah, but what do? Beat Dan Marino? Like, he's a true Florida quarterback. Yeah. I mean, but Brady just like automatically jumps the queue, and he's going to be Florida's favorite quarterback of all time now, just because that's how human.
Probably.
But yeah, I can't fight Dan Marino for the same reasons as you. Obviously, I'm not from Miami, but lifelong Dolphins fan. Have had Dan Marino pictures in my room since I was a little boy. So yeah, can't do it. I'm gonna, yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to roll with Dan Marino as well. Fighting Brady, and I'm cornering Peyton because that fight week is going to be amazing. Peyton Manning is hilarious. I went to his football camp when I was little, so I actually got to like talk to him before, work with him, work with Eli. Eli taught me how to do a 5-step drop. His brother Cooper is absolutely hilarious. But yeah, so they're a real cool group of people. I think that chilling with the Mannings on fight week will be awesome. Yeah, and I think that the press conferences, I think Peyton Manning is like a way, way, way more famous and talented Ben Askren. Not necessarily in like martial arts talent, but in terms of like the respected field. Like Peyton Manning is like the Ben Askren, but also like really good and smart.
Okay.
You know, Ben Askren is that to wrestling, I guess. So fair play.
To wrestling, yes, to wrestling,
yeah,
and to and one championship, and
yeah, and to MMA versus
right. Well, that wraps up our first virtual COVID. I can't believe it. It hit us. It got us. We had to go virtual. Now we're going to be updating every week how you're doing. But I mean, I imagine 2 weeks is when you'll probably be back, right?
Yeah, worst case, one more digital episode just to be safe. But yeah, I would imagine around next week would be our next episode is around when I will be. I think I'm on the back end of the symptoms. I think I've had them for about 5-6 days now.
Okay.
So I'm starting to be able to taste it a little bit. I'm, not as congested and whatnot. That's, so I'm getting through it. I think.
Any advice for people who have it on, best ways to cope with it, manage it?
For me, just, not getting in like a sick mode where you're just like sat there and not doing anything or being productive at all. I think that's like a big thing about being sick is like, you got to still keep it moving a little bit, don't like necessarily try and go break any personal records or anything, but try and still like get a good push in your body, help your body like sweat and work through it. Drink good water, drink, vitamin D. Dr. Rhonda Patrick, I heard her on Rogan's podcast at the beginning of this saying that like 80% of the people who die from COVID had a vitamin D deficiency or something like that. So, just taking that vitamin D and just trying to, be healthy and do what I got to do to get through this. But, yeah.
All right. Well, we wish you luck, and we'll be following your career with great interest. Star Wars reference for the people. But yeah, I don't really have a witty quote to leave us with. I already said I kill communists for fun.
He's a bitch.
What?
I said Tom Brady's a bitch.
Okay, here we go. Okay, let's end. So you just, at the very end, I'm going to count to 5. I just want you to finish off saying that. And Buzz Lightyear is saluting you in saying it. So I'm just going to get out the way and let you end the show right now.
Tom Brady, you're taking everything I work for, motherfucker. I must smash. It's my time for the title, brother. You know this. No, yeah, that's all I got for time.
That's it. Okay.